and a very warm welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Now today is 2nd of August and this entire video series it's brought to you by LawSikho. Now let's head to the agenda for today. So the first article for today's discussion would be this, which is the IIM Bill. It is a bold move. So now recently, a amendment bill, this is proposed in the parliament, whereby the autonomy, the greater autonomy that was given to the IIMs by virtue of a Parliament Act of 2017, it is now sought to be restricted by virtue of the current amendment. So what are the provisions and what is the reason behind this amendment? That is going to be the scope of today's discussion. Secondly, we talk about important news updates. And lastly, we have a look at the legal news update for the day. So let's start with the TNA and let's first see the issue involved here. So as I've already mentioned, that there is an act which is called the Indian Institute of Management Act of 2017. This act, it enhanced the scope of autonomy that IIMs already enjoyed. So there was this one particular clause in this 2017 Act whereby it required that the IIMs, the board of governors of the IIMs, they are to commission an independent review of the institutions, and this review was to done at least once in 3 years. So the board of governors they were required to commission a review, an independent review of the IIMs, and the duration was that it was to be done once in 3 years. Post the review, they were supposed to publish a report for the public to have a look at it in the public domain. Now, what happened was that only IIM Bangalore, if we talk about the top four IIMs, then only IIM Bangalore complied with this, and its report can be seen on its website. Apart from that, very few other, IIMs out of the 20 IIMs that we currently have, they've complied with this. So naturally, there is going to be a response from the government because this is a very clear-cut non-compliance of an act of the parliament. So therefore, the 2023 bill, amendment bill, it has come into the picture. This bill, it seeks to take back from the IIM the powers that the government ceded to it in 2017. The government, it seems to have judged that a dangerous governance vacuum it has been created in the IIM system in the years since it's relinquished control over these institutions. Now, all the key appointments, if we have a look at some of the other provisions of the 2017 Act, apart from this provision of review, so all the key appointments, be it of the chairperson and the board members, the director and the chairperson of the coordination forum of the IIMs, they were left to the board of governors. Also, the government reduced the kind of presence on the board that it had. So there were 4 members earlier. Post the 2017 Act, this was reduced to only 2 members. So this was the scope and the ambit of the kind of autonomy that the 2017 Act gave to the IIMs. So what are the aims and the broad provisions of the Bill of 2023? This bill, it seeks to undo the many provisions of the earlier Act. Now this bill, it creates a post which is called the post of a visitor. Who is going to be this post holder? The President of India is going to be the person concerned. The visitor, that is to say the President of India, will appoint the chairperson of the Board of Governors, one nominee on the selection committee for the director, and the chairperson of the coordination forum of the IIMs, which was essentially done by the Board of Governors here. Also, the visitor, he or she will approve all the director appointments. The visitor can also initiate any inquiry into the affairs of an institute and remove the director as well. The IIM Act of 2017, we can clearly see it created a situation where there were no meaningful checks and balances on the director. And a very important question was left unanswered, which is whom were the boards accountable? So the verdict as of now with respect to the 2023 bill, it must be that the government at least has shown the courage in seeking to restore the accountability in the IIM system because the kind of autonomy that was given by the 2017 Act, we can clearly see it created a vacuum. So this is the scope of this article, and now we proceed to the next segment for today. And now we proceed to the national news category, and here this is our very first update. India, it is among one of the invitees as Saudi Arabia to host Ukraine talks. Saudi Arabia will host a Ukrainian organized peace summit in early August, and this is to find a way to start negotiations over Russia's war on Ukraine. The summit, it will be held in Jeddah, which is a port city in Red Sea, Brazil, India, and South Africa. So these are some of the countries that are expected to join this particular meet. The officials of Saudi Arabia, they are hoping for the America or the US to join this meet. And it has now come to the light that Russia has refused to join the summit, as was kind of expected. Foxconn inks pact with Tamil Nadu government to set up mobile component manufacturing facility. Taiwan's Foxconn, it has signed a letter of intent with the government of Tamil Nadu on Monday, and this is to establish a new mobile component manufacturing facility. The location for the same is Kanchipuram, and this is for rupees 1,600 crore. Now, with the establishment of this facility in Kanchipuram, this is going to be a potential generator of jobs, and it is expected to generate 6,000 jobs. This further boosts India's aim to become a semiconductor superpower. ISRO injects Chandrayaan-3 into translunar orbit. Now, before we dive into this update, let's understand this term once. This is translunar injection. As you can see on the screen, this is a spacecraft which is orbiting the Earth, which is in the orbit of the Earth. Now, by performing this maneuver in the space missions, this aircraft, it is sent from the Earth's orbit, that is to say, it is taken out of the Earth's orbit and it is projected to get into the orbit of the moon. So this is what has happened with the Chandrayaan-3 mission also. ISRO on Monday, which is 1st of August yesterday, it performed the translunar injection to slingshot Chandrayaan-3 towards the moon. And currently, the spacecraft, it is out of the orbit of the Earth and it is moving towards the moon. So this is what the officials of ISRO have stated, that the next stop for Chandrayaan-3, it is the moon, and the lunar orbit insertion, which is that when the Chandrayaan-3 is going to get into the orbit of the moon, the date planned for the same is 5th of August. So far, the mission, it is on the scheduled plan, and the health of the spacecraft, it is also intact. G20 Empire Summit in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. This 2-day event, which is the G20 Empire Summit, it took place and started in Gandhinagar yesterday. Here, Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani, she launched the G20 Empower Digital Inclusion platform on this particular occasion. So what is this platform? The Tech Equity Platform, this is aimed at bridging the gender digital divide between men and women, and it is aiming at providing more opportunities to women to get more equipped with digital skills and knowledge. During India's G20 presidency, so by now, since we've done a couple of stories with respect to India's G20 presidency, I'm assuming and I'm hopeful that all of us know that India is currently having the G20 presidency, and during this women-led development, it has emerged as a very crucial focus point. Stressing upon the need to increase the participation of women in the workforce, Smriti Irani, she said that India is witnessing a revolution in the financial inclusion sector, and also the kind of contribution that the Indian economy is receiving from often women-led self-help groups which are operating at the grassroots levels in our country. Advocates Amendment Bill of 2023, it is introduced in the Parliament. Yesterday, which is on 1st of August, the Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal, he introduced the Advocates Amendment Bill for the year 2023 in the Parliament, and this is a part of the government's initiative to repeal the outdated laws and the pre-independence acts that have now lost all their relevance. So in collaboration with the Bar Council of India, the government has decided to revoke the Legal Practitioners Act of 1879 and to amend the Advocates Act of 1961 by incorporating the provisions of Section 36 of the 1879 Act into the 1961 Act. And what is the purpose of this sort of amalgamation and the repeal? This is so that we have a comprehensive single set of act, which is the Advocates Act of 1961, to regulate the entire legal profession. Education Ministry, it inks 106 MoUs to foster innovation and research. The Ministry of Education on Sunday, it signed 106 Memorandum of Understanding with various esteem organizations and institutions to foster innovation, research, and knowledge exchange in multiple domains, thereby ushering or starting into a new era of collaboration in education and industry academia linkages. These MoUs, they were signed on the culmination day of the Akhil Bharatiya Siksha Samagam to mark the third anniversary of the launch of the new national education policy. World's largest museum, it is to come up in Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he announced the Yuge Yugin Bharat National Museum during his address at the inaugural ceremony at the International Exhibition cum Convention Center complex in National Capital. In May, the Prime Minister launched a vital walkthrough of the upcoming museum on the occasion of the International Museum Expo at Pragati Maidan. This museum, it will have 8 thematic segments to showcase India's civilizational culture which span over 5,000 years. It will be built in the north and the south blocks of Delhi. And this has brought us to the international segment for today. And here, this is our very first update. Indian American Nisha Biswal, she's become the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of US Finance Agency. Indian American policy expert Nisha Biswal, she is confirmed by the Senate. The Senate is, we can say, for the purpose of our understanding, that it is akin to the upper house that we have in the Indian Parliament, which is the Rajya Sabha. So for US, it is Senate. So her appointment has been confirmed, and she is to serve as the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the United States International Development Finance Corporation. She has a very high profile career of over 3 decades of experience in the US foreign policy and international development programs within the White House, US Congress, and the private sector. Ms. Biswal, she currently holds the position of Senior Vice President for International Strategy and Global Initiatives at the US Chamber of Commerce, overseeing the India US Business Council and the US Bangladesh Business Council. UNESCO recommends adding Venice in the endangered list. Now, before we dive into this update, we need to understand a structured geographical phenomena which is called a lagoon. So, I'm sure often you must have seen that, let's say there's a sea area, and here, this is a sea area. Now, here you can see there is a shallow sort of a water body. This shallow water body, it is disconnected from the sea by land mass, and it is a very thin, passage which connects this shallow water body to the sea. And through this passage itself, it derives its source of water. So it is separated from the sea, but there's a very narrow channel which connects the lagoon with the sea from which it is deriving its source of water. So Venice, which is popularly, known for the fact that the streets they have canal system and there's water everywhere. So it is also situated in a lagoon. Now, what UNESCO has does is the UNESCO expert they've recommended that we blacklist Venice and its lagoon and we put it in the endangered list. So it has stated that Venice and its lagoon be added to the list of World Heritage in Danger. Why? Because Italy, where Venice is situated, it is not doing enough to protect the city from impact of climate change and mass tourism. UNESCO, it expressed its displeasure with the fact that the corrective measures which were proposed by the Italian state, they are currently insufficient and they are not detailed enough. And it is also stated that Italy has not been communicating in a very sustained and substantive manner on the steps that are to be taken for the purpose of saving Venice. Ukraine, Croatia, they agree on use of Croatian ports for grain exports. Now, before we dive into this update, I'd like to take you to a map to understand the location of these four, which is Ukraine, Croatia, the Danube River, and also the Adriatic Sea. So let's dive into the map first. So this is the map. Here you can see this is Ukraine, this is Croatia, this is the Danube River, this and these are its tributaries. This is the Danube Delta, and here, if you can see, this is the Adriatic Sea. So this is Ukraine, this is Croatia, this is Adriatic Sea, and this is the river, the Danube River, which runs through this entire passage, and this is its delta. Now let's get back to our story. So Ukraine and Croatia, they've agreed on the possibility of using Croatian ports, which are built on the Danube River and the Adriatic Sea. Why? For the purpose of export of Ukrainian grain. We need to understand that Ukraine, it is among the world's biggest exporter of food grains, be it wheat or corn, and a major contributor to the UN's food aid programs is Ukraine. Now, when Russia invaded Ukraine and it blocked its ports, it sent food prices soaring and raised the fears of food security among the poorer nations of the world. So, to address this particular emergency, last year in July, UN and Turkey, they got Russia to agree to this deal, which is called the Black Sea Grain Deal. This deal, it assured that there is going to be safe passage to ships from Ukraine that carry grains, and Russia is not going to do anything which adversely affects these ships. However, what has happened this last month is that Russia quit the UN brokered Black Sea grain deal, and there, as a result, Ukraine is now deprived of passage to safely export its agricultural products across the world during this war-like situation and the war, in fact. So, therefore, as a solution, Ukraine and Croatia, they've now agreed to exploring the possibility of using the ports which have been built by Croatia on these two water bodies. This has brought us to the legal segment for today. First, we have an update from the Supreme Court. So, the Supreme Court has observed that it is only when the conviction in a check case it arises out of single transaction. That is to say, let's say there was a single transaction, checks were issued, they were presented before the bank concerned, and they got dishonored. Then the check bounce proceedings were initiated, the accused was convicted, and during the sentence, they were sentenced. Now, here, the court has said that whenever the check case it arises out of a single transaction, then concurrent sentence would be merited. What is concurrent and consecutive sentence? Let's say there are four offenses that have been committed by an accused. Now he is found guilty, so he is convicted. And during the sentence, the court directs that all of your sentences for all of these four offenses, they're going to run simultaneously. So that is concurrent sentence. What is consecutive? When the sentence for one offense starts, it ends, and then the sentence for the next offense starts. So the court said that in a conviction of a check bounce case, which arises out of a single transaction, concurrent sentence is the rule. It would be merited. But wherever there are several transactions, then the judgment of VK Bansal versus State of Haryana, which was relied by the petitioner, the court said that this is not going to be relevant here. So distinguishing the ratio of VK Bansal from the facts of the present case, the top court observed that we've perused the ratio of this judgment and we find that only when the conviction arises out of a very single transaction, that concurrent sentence would be merited. But in cases like the present one, where there are several transactions over a period of time, here this concurrent sentence would not be merited. Name of this matter is K. Padmaja Rani versus State of Telangana. Now, here, before we proceed, I have a question, and I would request and urge all of you to please put down your answers in the comment section. Which section of the IPC deals with concurrent and consecutive sentences? Secondly, in the IPC, in that very section, what is the norm? Is concurrent sentence the norm and consecutive sentence the exception, or is it the other way around? Please put down your answers. Supreme Court in this particular judgment, which is the case of Kusumben Patel Varun Punia versus the state of Uttarakhand and others, has held that it is orally rather observed that every case of improper investigation, it cannot be transferred to the CBI. And with this, we've come to an end of the TNA. In case you want to get access to our study material or the TNA slides that are used in this video, please feel free to join our Telegram channel. And for the same purpose, you may scan the barcode here or click on the link which is given in the description. These are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with LawSikho. The quiz is also made available for your kind consideration in the description of the video. Please go ahead and attempt the same, and also please don't forget to answer the question in the comment section. Thank you for being with us.